boys. Tell them to start the clock.
All aboard!
Tell them to start the clock.
Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Yes, it's Chicago Junction, being the radio program that is everything about trains. Here's our boss for the head of the Windy City Hometown Radio Network, as well as being the chief electrical engineer, Mr. John DeVita.
Thank you, Bri. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Monday, March the 23rd, the year 2015. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads. And now, to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Brian.
Well, thank you, John. And here's our host, Mr. Jack Red Ryan.
Hello, greetings on this late winter's day. It's not officially spring yet, and it cooled off. We had some beautiful weather over the weekend. This would be, this is the day directly between St. Patrick's Day and St. Joseph's Day. And I don't know what saint this would be today. Anybody know? St. Jane, maybe, or something like that?
Saint Neither.
Yeah. Neutrality? No man's land?
Saint Elsewhere.
St. Elsewhere. Ah, very good. That's very good. Like that. So, as usual, we get together. We have lots to talk about. We have a caller, I know we will have. And let's go around the table. Which way shall we start, left or right? Right this time? Okay, to my right. And nobody's to my right.
Attila the Hun. Yeah. Kevin Berry, retired member of the Chicago Police Department and a member of the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club.
Yes, sir. Next case.
Yeah, head case. Dave DeRuska, retired locomotive engineer for a number of different railroads, the last one being Metra.
Okay. And across from you?
Brian Valou, you're a fine announcer. Retired from the U.S. Navy, railroad engineer, and a member of various railroad historical and model train organizations.
Thank you. And immediately to my left?
As Doug Kenyuk, I'm with the Railroad and Short Lines Club of Chicago. The website's rscc.dhke.com. Also adjunct professor at Wright College and railroad historian.
Okay. And I'm Jack Ryan. I'm a fan. My grandfather worked for the Chicago Junction Railroad, as did my uncle and my cousin, hence the name. But these guys are the experts. They know more than Cornelius Vanderbilt and George Pullman and John Henry all rolled into one about the railroads. So let's get going with our discussion. Who's up? Kevin? Someone's pointing at you.
I guess I'm nominated. I didn't step back quickly enough. There was an article in the Red Eye earlier this week about the city closing the Madison and Wabash Loop Station after a century of hard service. It's going to. They're also going to close the one to its immediate north and build a super station, which will hopefully be open in July of 2016. And it was a really nice two-page article with a lot of photographs, and my favorite was the one taken in 1964 with a brand new 2000 series air-conditioned subway car. To the right as you look at the photo, and to the left next to it is the really old wooden L car with the canvas tarred roof that I can fondly remember riding on as a freshman student at DePaul in 1968. And there's a photograph in there from when the station was used in the movie The Package with Gene Hackman and Joanna Cassidy. And one of the people that was interviewed, and forgive me if I butchered the young lady's name, it's Bonnie Leilenfeld, who's an assistant director for curatorial affairs at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. And she was there taking a look at the station, and there is a display at the Smithsonian of what the Madison and Wabash station looked like in the 1950s, and it's at the National Museum of American History, which is a wonderful place to get lost in for a couple of hours.
Which is part of the Smithsonian, correct?
There are 20 or 21 museums that are part of the Smithsonian. I think the newest one is the Museum of Native American History.
Okay, now, which brings me a question. Was everyone born in the United States here? Anyone not born in the U.S. of A? Are you citizens? You're Native Americans. That's kind of an ambiguous term, I think. I know what they mean.
You've seen too many episodes of The Middle.
Never seen it. It's about me, though.
Not going there.
Okay. Is that, want to pass on? Or anything?
Yeah, let's go to the next guy.
Dave Darushka.
Ah, yes.
Sir,
I'm going to put in a shameless plug for our Facebook page.
please do.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, Chicago Junction Radio. And I recently posted some pictures from a little trip I made to a place called Zintex Hobby Store. It's a railroad hobby shop on 18th Street in Damon. Former bar and tobacco shop.
Yeah, weren't they back over east of there somewhere on 18th Street originally, or
I'm not sure.
closer to Halsted, I think?
No, they used to be right across the street from Bishop's Chili.
Okay.
And then the
all
city
right.
bought Bishop's out and knocked
Yeah,
it
Bishop's
down to
gone.
build the new school.
There's not even an archbishop there now.
Anyways, if if you want to step back in time, this guy has every room in this building filled, shelves filled with model train stuff, paraphernalia and cars. I mean, it's just, I was overwhelmed.
It's a store or just a...
It's a store. It's a store. He's
Yeah.
It's a hobby shop.
it's a hobby shop.
Was that your hobby?
The last time I was in there, he was almost exclusively HO. Has he expanded out?
Yeah, he's pretty much HO.
Oh, he's got end scale on the first floor behind the register
Right.
in those cabinets.
Right. Yeah, you still have the original bar there and the tobacco cases. And they're just, like, one of the cases is just all these little tiny HO vehicles just thrown in there. It's kind of a mess, but it's a neat place. I mean, anybody in the hobby, I'd highly recommend them going to it. You probably find some oddball stuff.
Repeat the name and the location.
It's called Zintex, Zintex, Zienteks, and it's at 2001 West 18th Street, which is the corner of Damon and 18th.
Yeah.
And right now, the city has Damon and 18th Street totally dug up for a sewer project. So you can park on either side of Damon, but
Don't park in the sewer.
don't park in the hole.
Yeah.
Unless you got a Hummer.
Yeah, well, I don't even know. That's a pretty big hole. It's something bigger than a Hummer to get out of that.
Okay. Next up, Brian, got anything to start off?
Well, we're going with straight railroad news. We got the Roundout Tower, one of the last man towers around the Chicago area, and they closed it down
Where's this again now?
in Roundout, Illinois, right near Lamb's Farm,
Scene,
Oh,
of,
okay, now.
off of 176th.
scene of the famous train robbery, the last
That is-
train robbery.
in the United States. That's
over
where
there?
it was at. And it's being controlled from Minneapolis with special compensation made in case they lose power. Metro might be able to control it.
Well, let's pray for one. Those evil people from Minneapolis. You got to watch them.
Hey, they're mighty fine, eh?
Well, the thing is, yeah. Did you see Fargo?
Eh?
Anyway, when they close things down, there's always a chance they're going to tear it down. Am I not right?
I don't know if anybody or any group is trying to get the tower itself.
Oftentimes they just repurpose it for like the signal department or something. They use it for storage and whatever. I mean, there's a couple towers on Metro like that. Kensington, in specific, is still standing because the B&B department uses it.
Okay. Doug?
Okay, the Indiana Harbor Belt's leasing about a mile of Norfolk Southern track down by 136th and Avenue O from the Norfolk Southern to serve the customers there. A little debate on how they come up with 10 customers when there's only one, but depends on how you count it, I guess.
Are there 10 employees working at the one customer?
I can tell you, because I saw them doing it, they rebuilt all the track along 136th Street, at least from what I could see from Avenue K to Avenue O. Completely rebuilt the roadbed, new ties, new rail, all the way to Avenue O, and did the same thing on the west side of Avenue O, all the way down to 134th Street, I think, where they put a brand new switch in last summer, but they have not reestablished the grade crossing on Avenue O. And at the time, they said it was being done so they could get a train in to take the pet coke out of KCBX at 100th and the river. But since then, KCBX has decided to terminate business at that location because of the new city ordinance that everything has to be undercover. And, you know, there's still piles of pet coke there. So, I beyond what they're saying, it's hard to tell what's going to happen.
Okay, pardon my ignorance. What is pet coke?
Pet coke is a byproduct that's left during the oil refining process. It is burnable. I don't know exactly what the conditions are that you have to establish so that you can burn it, but it's supposed to be burnable, and it's supposed to be a fuel source. But the people in the area are really upset about it because when the wind comes up, the lighter particles blow all around. It looks like someone has taken thin mud and thrown it all over your house.
Okay. See, we learn something every day. John, do we have a caller yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Please, caller, call us. Okay. Okay, you next? You got something else, Doug?
Yes, little news about the Elgin Joliet and Eastern. Apparently, CN has decided to abandon the section of track from North Chicago up to Waukegan. It's being sold to the village of Waukegan. It's already a done deal. They're just waiting for the STB to approve of it. Waukegan is going to do lakefront development. Caught a couple of people by surprise, including the environmentalist who wanted to use that as a rail trail. But Waukegan's got will have 100% control over the right-of-way. A little trivia about the EJ&E. For example, how many states did the Elgin, all time now, this is all over the whole history of the Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern, how many states did the EJ&E operate in?
54.
No, you got to name them.
Oh.
Name the 3 states. They were in 3 states. Name the 3 states.
Illinois.
That's 1.
Indiana?
That's 2.
Iowa.
Nope.
Wisconsin?
Yes. There was a small steel plant they took over, and it was Bayview, Milwaukee, Bayview, and Chicago, and it was the in-plant switching.
Yes.
Okay. That'll be it for now. We'll have more trivia later.
We have a call?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Shannon Brown.
Hello. Would this be Shannon? Hello? It was. Did we lose it, John?
How are you guys?
Oh, okay, Shannon. How's everything?
Oh, busy.
Shannon
But
Brown.
That's good. That's
With-
good. It's
with- With the 2015 LincolnFuneralTrain.com.
that's it.
Correct? Yeah. Yeah, it must be busy. You're getting pretty close now, right?
Getting very close. Yes,
Okay.
very, very close.
Let us know. Tell us everything.
Finishing the interior of the car, finding a lot of period furnishings. We've got some wonderful volunteers who have come within the last few months come on board to help us, and one of their specialties anyway is antiques and looking for period pieces, and we found some just absolutely gorgeous pieces to go in this car. A lot of them we found have the it was very popular in Lincoln's day and when the war was going on to have crests, like the shields, the U.S. Shields with the stars and stripes on them on your furniture and different things. And so they've been able to locate pieces like that that have those lamps and chairs and things like that. And it's going to be absolutely gorgeous inside and out. I can't wait for the rollout on May 2nd because we're as excited about showing it off as everybody is to see it. So.
Okay, May 2nd, and where will that be?
Yeah, that's going to be in Springfield, Illinois. We're going to debut at the Crown Plaza in Springfield. That'll be at 6 p.m. that evening, Saturday, May the 2nd. That will be the public's first opportunity to walk through the Lincoln funeral car.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? Come on, somebody got questions?
I
Kevin.
have a question. I know you're going to be very busy the upcoming summer, but have you given any thought to where this train will reside after the reenactment and presentation tour has concluded?
Well, we've given a little bit of thought to that, but it's really on the back burner because when all of the commemorations are over in 2015, all of the 150th anniversary commemorations are over, we're not anywhere near done. We want to keep this train out as long as communities want us to visit and as long as the builder wants to keep taking it to communities. So this tour is going to extend into 2016, 2017. There's even been, a couple of suggestions floated around about us being part of the 150th anniversary of the Golden Spike ceremony, which is not until 2019. So there are a lot of things on the horizon for us, but we don't have a permanent home for it yet, but mainly that's because we don't even know when we're going to stop touring with it yet.
The Golden Spike you refer to, is that be Ogden, Utah with the Transcontinental?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I knew an answer.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's coming up with 150 also, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now speaking about you going to Springfield, do you have any itinerary after that that you'll be visiting, or?
We're actually going to head east from Springfield. We will be going through several communities. We're still lining up exactly what that route is going to be, and we're trying to make that the most efficient route, both for the communities and for us to be able to spend time in the communities. But we know we've got appearances coming up in Ohio, Kentucky, most likely Pennsylvania, probably New York, North Carolina, so probably Indiana before year's end, and then back toward Elgin, which of course would bring us to Chicago area.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling it's going to have a snowballing effect as you actually get out there. You're going to get more requests and more publicity, and this.
Yes, and we're already starting to see a little bit of that. But yes, we anticipate that to get even busier.
Okay. Question, somebody? Anybody? Question?
Not a question, but a comment. The 20th Century Railroad Club has got an excursion train going down from Chicago to Springfield for your event.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anybody is in the area and wants to see your train, they should contact the 20th Century Railroad Club, and they can just enter that into Google, and they'll get the contact information.
Sure, and I actually learned about that a couple of days ago. So that's great. We'd love to have any of the groups come down. I know there have been a couple of other tour groups that have contacted us and are planning to come see us while we're there. So wonderful. The more the merrier.
Hey, this could be the #1 event in Springfield.
I hope so.
Especially if the legislature's out of session. What was it that said no man's fortune is safe while Congress is in session? Was it Will Rogers or Mark Twain?
Probably Will Rogers.
Professor Irwin Corey? I don't know. Anyway, well, I know you're busy, and we appreciate your sharing time with us like this. And
thank you for having me on. And as I said, yes, we are busy, but we are on schedule, and we will be in Springfield May the 2nd, no question.
So what do you do next year? Get a hobby?
Oh, yeah. Sleep? What's that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, well, we'll stay in contact and we'll see what's going on. And if you're in town, let us know. We can go out for a pizza or something.
Absolutely, yeah. Chicago pizza is pretty good stuff.
Well, it's the best.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Once again, here's
All right,
Shannon Brown, the 2015 LincolnFuneralTrain.com. Got it? Bye, Shannon. She's gone. Okay. Oh, we're joined by a guest, Ron Smolin, who pledges he may like to join. Say hello to them. Want to say hello to America?
Hello, America.
How's everything? And your interests with trains are what?
Models, live, trains, traction.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're a model train guy?
I do have a model, yes.
Okay. What do you have?
Lionel and HO.
Yeah.
So I was looking at this nice model right here next to me on the table.
We're not supposed to talk about her. Yeah, I used to have a girlfriend. She was a model. I couldn't kiss her till the glue dried. But anyway, I can't keep my daytime job. I don't have one. So okay, where were we, Doug? You were talking something, right?
Right. Some more EJ&E trivia. Besides the fact that EJ&E operated at one time in Wisconsin, they also operated at 3 different locations in Chicago. Now, we all know about the South Chicago locations, but what are the other 2 locations that the EJ&E operated at? And what was their name of their little in-plant railroad? Okay, no, we got no takers. First one was the Chicago and Southeastern, or Chicago and Southwestern, which operated just north of the stockyards. That part of the river that breaks off from the south branch that went to the stockyards, they operated on the east side of the river. There was a small manufacturing plant that U.S. Steel took over. The other spot was up by Fullerton and Clybourne. They had a steel-making operation there, and that was the Chicago and Kenosha Railroad. And if you look on Sanborn maps, you'll see that about a block north of Fullerton on Clybourne was a engine house for the EJ&E. So they operated that for a short period of time before pulling the manufacturing out of there. Some more trivia. How far south did the EJ&E operate? Now everybody's going to say Coal City or Wilmington. They once operated to Rossville, Illinois. They had a deal with the Chicago and Eastern Illinois to go down and get coal and come back and bring coal back up to the power plants, up to the steel plants, I mean. And a little side note about this EJ&E abandonment, this part of the J, in a 1995 study done by Metra, was going to be part of the circumference, the outer belt Metra operation. That was tagged that the Metro would start in Waukegan using the J exclusively to go from Waukegan to Joliet and have a Metro line on there. So now with this part being abandoned, there goes that study out the window because they've already changed the Star Line design 3 times. So that's probably going to be irrelevant. They'll probably do is come down the UP and then switch over to the former J tracks if and when they ever put the Star Line in. Anything else? Any other questions? How about the history of it? No. Actually, that line that they're abandoning was originally built by the Waukegan and Southwestern.
EJ&E, you say?
Yeah.
What is that? Elgin?
Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern.
Okay.
It was owned by U.S. Steel. When U.S. Steel took over a manufacturing plant in Waukegan, that plant already had their line, which was Waukegan and Southwestern built. They met up at Barrington. And after that, the EJ&E was basically used to move products around between the different steel plants.
Okay.
At one time, EJ also had passenger service.
Yes, they did. Waukegan to Joliet, Joliet to Porter.
Do we have a time frame on that?
It was 1900s to about 1917.
Okay, Ron, now we have a little break. You know, tell us about yourself. You're a musician? You have an orchestra?
Yes.
Let's hear about it. Come on, shameless plug.
There's not much to hear. I'm an orchestra leader around Chicago area, play at the Willowbrook Ballroom, and I'm a train fan.
Okay, any particular name of the orchestra, or?
It's the Ron Smolin Orchestra.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
And do you have a website or anything?
RonSmolinOrchestra.com.
All very logical, easy to remember,
That's
folks.
right.
Now I remember.
Even you can remember it.
Now I remember where I've heard his name. He's His band appears regularly on Midwest Ballroom.
That's correct.
On
Are you?
WDCB. DCB
Yeah.
from the College of DuPage.
Is that before the radio or after the radio show?
It's from 5 to 7, and you should be hit across the back of the head with a railroad
no,
tie,
I mean,
sir.
earlier there's like there's something called a swing shift or something. I know.
Swing shift is on from 11 to 1.
Yeah. Okay.
And then here's the other show is on in the evening.
For some reason, we cannot pick that station up too well in the house. The car, yes. So I have to run to the computer when I'm listening to the radio.
I had to go out and buy an antenna for my tuner, and I have to put it in the window so I can pick up DCB. And we listen to it all the time.
Well, why is it? Why is this?
It's way out in DuPage. It's College of DuPage.
Yeah, I know where it is. It's Addison, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it has a real strong signal.
If you get south of Joliet, you get drowned out by the station from the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana.
I have no problems in Park Ridge.
Yeah, right. But
Chief,
they'd have had
the Lord God himself wouldn't dare give you a problem.
They had transmitter problems, and they were asking their listeners to let them know how strong the signal was if they were picking it up. So I don't know if they ever resolved that.
I remember that the hamster died, right?
Yeah.
The station is out of Glen Ellen. Is where the transmitter is. It's in Glen Ellen.
Okay.
And a couple of Saturdays ago, I left here, the house here where we are now, and I drove up to Wisconsin, and I picked the station all the way up into and through Richmond, Illinois, which is Route 12 and 173. And as soon as I got across the borderline, got into Wisconsin out of Richmond, I started to lose them. But I listened to them from here all the way up through Richmond, Illinois.
Okay.
And their transmitter is in Glen Ellen. And several years ago, they had a very bad storm out that way, and their antenna tower was blown over, and they used a temporary tower until the new one was reconstructed.
But what I can't understand is I can get it in the car, but not in the house. Is that unusual?
That's surprising to hear because FM, you shouldn't have any problems with that with an FM signal. AM, yes, some radio stations are directional, but FM is not. Mm-hmm. So it might be some kind of interference between you and the transmitter site.
Well, okay, if you say so.
It's all those fillings you have, see?
I don't know. Anyway.
I got some Amtrak stuff.
Well, let's hear it.
Yeah, the what is it? The Hoosier State Line from Chicago to Indianapolis, I believe. Amtrak has been running the service. The state of Indiana tried to find another provider, which didn't quite work out, and the FRA decided to throw a ringer into the mix by calling the Indiana Department of Transportation a railroad carrier. And as a railroad carrier, they have more liability as far as running the trains. And so as of April 1st, it looks like the Hoosier State Line will stop operations. But
No, they got extended.
To what?
To run the month of April.
Run the month. The article I have here is about Senator Dan Coates, Republican Indiana, is seeking to protect Amtrak service between Indianapolis and Chicago as state officials consider cutting the rail line because of a recent change to federal regulations that have increased the cost of operating the route.
Yeah, that was the article, but I think it was the end of last week, they came out and says, well, they're now going to run it to the end of April.
Yeah, who was it they were trying to contract with?
They were trying to Iowa Pacific.
Was it Iowa Pacific?
Yeah, the Pullman Rail Journeys.
Okay. There was somebody else in the mix too, guy who owns a bunch of cars but no locomotives.
Yeah.
I forget who that is. Let's see. I got Joliet Station news. The city manager Jim Hawk plans to report this week that the downtown transportation center budget is now about $46 million, with the city's share about $2.3 million more than first estimated in 2010. Said the additional city money would be devoted to renovations of the old Union Station, which has been replaced by a new station. And I don't know how the change in government in Springfield is going to affect this, because a lot of the money for projects in the state are being dropped. I mean,
Before it hits the ground, and when you drop this, we have a break.
yeah.
Don't go away, folks. You're listening to
Chicago Junction.
You are listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Monday, March the 23rd, year 2015. And this is Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois. And now back to Chicago Junction and our panel.
Hello, we're back.
You know,
That was quick, right, guys?
Yeah, we'll continue with your Amtrak news.
Yeah, Amtrak. We got the House. The House in Washington passed the authorization for $8 billion in funding for Amtrak in a 316 to 101 vote, which is quite surprising. So I don't think it's what Amtrak would have wanted in terms of the amount of money it needs, but at least they weren't zero funded, which
Is usually what happens.
yeah, usually what happens. They try to zero fund it and they end up finding some money for it.
Pretty soon you're talking about some real money. $8 billion. I mean, pretty soon it's going to be some real money.
Well, you know,
in Washington terms.
considering what Amtrak has to do, $8 billion is a drop in the bucket. I mean,
What did they request?
let's see, what did they request?
$8 million.
Yeah, somebody added a couple extra zeros on there. Doesn't really say in this article what their original request was.
Does anyone remember The Mouse That Roared, the British film with...
Yeah,
Yeah.
Peter Sellers.
Now, at the end, they had won, so there were requests from the United States. They wanted to have their wine rights restored, and they wanted $1 million cash, and the U.S. envoy says, you may have to accept $1 billion. So, like, yeah, so go ahead, I'm sorry. Just a little pause so that I interject that.
Yeah, well, in the world of preservation, UP's finally going to get steam back. They've been several years without. The Challenger had some problems.
Union Pacific.
Union Pacific,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And their Heritage steam fleet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're finishing up the major overhaul on the 844, the 484 that runs. And they figure it'll be, the guy put out that the new head of the program said that the engine will definitely be ready by 2016, but that it might be ready by late 2015. Maybe pull a Christmas run.
Yeah, well, that'd be neat, wouldn't
Of
it?
course, we haven't seen one since 2002, so we don't know what steam locomotives look like here in Chicago. The Challenger is, they, for some reason, they cut down on the number of people with the program, so that's why they're not rebuilding the engines as fast as they used to. They didn't have a steady team working. The Challenger will actually be rebuilt. They're going to start doing it next year. They're going to start tearing it down and put it up for its 15-year overhaul. And let everybody know that 2019 is still when the UP Big Boy will be ready for the Golden Spike ceremony.
Okay.
The world's largest steam locomotive is supposed to carry a special train, and they're going to try and take it all over the system. We just see if they'll come to Chicago.
Everything crisscrosses here, doesn't it?
Well, this is where it does crisscross,
Oh.
but several trips that were supposed to come here got canceled. And they're afraid to actually bring even their passenger fleet in here with a regular excursion train. They'll bring in a few cars because they run the Operation Lifesaver special.
Yeah.
And more than ever, they really got to run the Operation Lifesaver special.
Yeah, especially after yesterday.
What happened yesterday?
There was a young man killed in Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Oh yeah, the guy walking the tracks wearing headphones
Yeah,
And a hoodie.
and a hoodie.
it's
And
those
yes,
were the circumstances. It's still unfortunate.
and you sit there and listen, and it was the train's fault for not stopping in time.
Well, I
Actually, I
discovered-
didn't hear that said once on the news.
No.
They actually
No,
made
I heard a news broadcast that did allude to that.
I listened to the CBS news this morning in Chicago, and they made a point of saying that the young man had headphones on and had a hoodie on, and it was pulled close over his head, and the engineer had sounded the horn several times, but the young man didn't hear it or didn't react to it.
That happens more often than you think.
I saw the posting on Facebook for one of the accidents, and they had a newscaster going that 94% of the rail and automobile accidents are caused by the automobile drivers, which leads me to wonder what the other who's at fault for the other 6%. Is that where the train actually leaves the tracks and chases the car down the road?
Yeah, that steering mechanism catches it.
Yeah. They also sound as if the train has a mind of its own, or the car has a mind of its own. Right? The car did this, or there was an SUV, or
Well, I mean, you look at the accidents that have happened in the beginning with just Amtrak or passenger alone.
Yeah.
This year, deaths. The amount of deaths that we have safety against is finally stopped, and now all of a sudden they're starting to climb back up again. Mm-hmm. I mean, before it was, when Operation Lifesaver first came out, you're talking every 45 minutes somebody died. That's how bad it was. There's been an 80% drop. I mean, they were down to 3. Every accident now was like every 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Nationwide, you're referring to?
Nationwide. Then all of a sudden this year, we've had more, first time, because of a lot of it because of trespassing, but we've had more deaths than in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I guess that's why those railroad detectives used to chase us from playing up on the
track.
Yeah. My favorite was the guy out in California who was took a selfie of himself on the track, and when the freight train passed, he didn't realize there was a train coming in the other direction, on the other track. Got nailed.
I like the one where the woman was texting and walked into a moving train.
Unfortunately, yeah, that happens more than you realize.
Mm-hmm. Well, some safety expert said that he thinks a lot of the current car rail accidents are due to people being on, the cell phone, being distracted.
I don't doubt that one bit.
I can tell you, not involving trains, but people get into cars, and the cars do a pretty effective job of cocooning the occupants.
Right.
And they turn the radio up, have the radio on, and when they turn it up, from the time that I spent as a police officer, you can literally be on somebody's bumper with the loudest of the siren settings, and if the music is on in the car, they can't even hear a siren on a squad car.
With the soundproofing,
much less a train.
Yeah, with the soundproofing and everything else,
And the way some people play these radios, I mean, my God, I like when I pull up some jitterbug. He's got his. There's an old term for you. He's got his radio way up, so I pull up. I'll have whatever it is, talk show. I pull up, roll the window down, roll as loud as I can. They look all of a sudden. I said, turn it down. They don't understand.
But like the accident that happened in North Carolina at the beginning of the week with the tractor trailer. Here's a tractor pulling a trailer 150 feet long. Goes over the crossing. He does have a police escort. Tries to get over, found out he wouldn't be able to turn, so they back the truck up, paying no attention to the track. Pull the truck again, and then all of a sudden it gets stuck. Can't back up, can't turn, and then blames all the traffic in the parallel highway. There's too much traffic in the outside lane to allow him through, so that's what they blame for causing the train accident, not the fact that they didn't even call the railroad.
Or that the police didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
if you had a police escort, you're not going to stop traffic?
And the state police get out there and says, he was only on the crossing for 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
And they were there for over 20 minutes.
May as well be an eternity.
Yeah.
5 minutes, right?
5 minutes. He was only on the tracks for 5 minutes. And this is the cop. I'm sitting there. I'd really like to be the cop going up before his boss telling him.
North Carolina.
Well, don't blame them. This could be anywhere.
It
Oh,
literally.
yeah, true.
Yeah, it could be anywhere.
I mean,
Well, the right thing to do is, especially when you're dealing with things like it was a large load, I mean unusually large load, to contact any railroad whose tracks you're crossing and let them know, we're going to be transporting this,
Yeah.
And of course they'll put out train orders and stuff, letting the trains know that this is going to be happening.
Yeah.
The railroad will probably provide employees to be there at that crossing to make sure that everything's okay.
Sure.
But not doing that is just absolutely ridiculously stupid.
Any system, even a poor one, can be rendered better with little information.
Right.
if you're moving something that's so large that it requires a physical police escort, not notifying any railroad that you're crossing borders on gross negligence. I mean, yeah, I saw it. It's totally inexcusable.
What was he hauling? Do we know?
Yeah, a building module. Basically known as a mobile motorhome. Mobile home.
Oh,
No, I think it was part of a modular building.
like almost like prefab. You mean? Like
Yeah. They build them in sections and then they transport them. And I think it was going all the way to New Jersey.
Draw a picture, will you?
All right, let's get off accidents. And Kevin here has brought in a nice model of a gen set. Would you like to explain that to us?
For those of you who's watching on television,
Okay.
stop it. We're not on television. Those of you who's
One of the newer engines in service is referred to as a genset, and what it is it's a road engine that instead of having one engine, one diesel motor to generate electricity, has three, and as the load increases and the need for more power comes about, the second or third engine will kick in and fire the generators up to produce more electricity for the motors that drive the wheels. It's to put it in terms that most people can grasp. It's similar to the engine that Cadillac had introduced a couple of years ago that can operate either on 4, 6, or 8 cylinders. Brian can explain the technical side of it better than I can. It's a unique body style, and the only way that most people will notice that it's something new is it actually has 3 smokestacks coming across the top of the long hood. It's a very popular engine. It's similar to something that that's me, something that Boyce Engineering had out in the 80s. Excuse me. It's just my son.
take it if it's a caller.
No, it's my son.
Go
They
ahead.
had a 2,000 horsepower. I'm not sure what this one's rated at, but they're very popular. I've noticed one here in the Chicago area. The Indiana Harbor Belt has one. Excuse me, gentlemen. Brian.
The diesels come in 800 horsepower each, so most of them are 2,400 horsepower. The IHB has a bunch of them. BRC has a couple of them now. That's how they're rated, and they cut in on it. They have a nice little flow chart in the cab, how to restart the computers that control when the diesels cut in.
I believe the NS is bringing a green version of this to Chicago.
Yes, they are. They're bringing one to Chicago. One's going to
Calumet?
Calumet, and they built 2 of them.
Yeah.
Now,
And the other one's going to Atlanta.
green, you don't mean the color of it. You mean the...
Well,
They're eco diesels.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
Yes. Well, the Gen Set was the first of the eco diesels that they really brought out that have been successful.
You don't mean economic.
Yes.
well, it is
Ecology.
No,
both.
it's both.
Oh,
Eco,
awesome.
both.
Both.
It's economic and it is ecologically friendly.
They consider a standard diesel, the engine runs all the time, so it's burning fuel that whole time. Of course, when you put it under load, it speeds up and it burns more fuel. With this, it only uses one unit if you have a light load, and as you increase the amount of cars on the train,
need for power.
Right.
Yeah, it senses it, and then the second unit will go, and then you go up to the third one.
Computer controlled, huh?
Yeah. Yep. Computer controlled. They're basically switchers. They're used in yards. They have several different varieties. There's another, Rail Power is another company owned by R.J. Corman, and they are both have a diesel in it. They're a hybrid. They got a battery pack and a diesel.
Now, Metra had considered putting their bid for new locomotives. They'd put out a bid for gensets, and I don't know. I think that fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's diesel creates electricity that runs it.
Right. The traction. There's electric motors in the wheels called traction motors. So the diesel essentially is a generator. It turns a generator, which creates electricity that goes to the wheels.
It carries its own power plant, because the same motors that are in that are in electric trains.
Okay. So you got
Yeah, 1 year in Canada when they had a big ice storm and a lot of communities were knocked out, the CN and the CP took some of their older locomotives, put them on a siding, and literally plugged the village into the locomotive because it could generate power.
Really?
Northwestern did the same thing. They had a huge, in the old Northwestern station, Madison Street, they had a huge power outage. And they ran a couple diesels in there and hooked them up, and
there you go.
Ran the power in the station.
Yeah, well, because the same power that's in the locomotives, whether they be EMD, Baldwin's, or Fairbanks Morse, those are the emergency diesels actually aboard ship.
Clever, these Americans.
And because the destroyer that I was on in Pearl Harbor, if there was an emergency, we could actually take that destroyer, had 2 FMs on board, 12-cylinder, and that would have lit up Waikiki.
Yeah, we heard of, like for example, an aircraft carrier can produce how much clear sweet water, fresh water in a day by straining or running it through some kind of a system.
Oh,
so I mean, there are all kinds of systems like that.
A desalting tank. Yeah.
I think Colin Powell offered something service like that to a country, and they said, well, we don't need any need for any warships, and he explained to them all the things that could be done that way and are done.
Oh yeah, it's there was a story. It was like a joke going around. Why does the U.S. send Wall an aircraft carrier? Well, you have enough food to feed 8,000 people a day. The fresh water, the first aid that you get, they have, besides corpsmen, they have doctors on board. So, yeah, that's why ships like that are sent to
it's
stricken areas from cyclones and tsunamis.
This whole community and hospital of its own.
Yes.
Interesting, more and more. Okay, who we got?
I have a question. Besides the gen sets, have any news on the locomotives running on natural gas? I know they're testing a few out there.
BN has probably done more testing with natural gas units. Basically, they have like diesels that are designed in natural gas, and they have a special tank car to carry the fuel between them. BN's been doing it for about 25 years, and they're still just experimenting with them.
Okay, one step further. Atomic power? No, I'm saying
atomic train.
I'm not.
No.
I was
Don't
serious.
laugh. No, it's true though. They were talking about that in the 50s. Somebody came up with a design for hydrogen power with a reactor. It's still there, just got to make them, can't make them reactors small enough yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
All we need is a Mr. Fusion like they had on the DeLorean and Back to the Future. And you know, throw a couple of orange peels and half a can of beer in there, and you can go from here to the West Coast.
There you go. That's it. You know, because atomic power, all you're doing is actually making steam. Just an hour power source for steam.
There'll be fusion or confusion. Ron, what do you got to say?
I'm here.
Are you having a good time yet?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the group. You can jump in with anything ridiculous.
Ron's
with
been
the rest
doing a
of
great
us.
job of putting on traction stuff on our Facebook page. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if you saw on Facebook, they had a picture of the one freight car that was built to haul ICBMs around to be ready to launch.
No.
And there was a plan by the DOD to run a train, 2 locomotives, a control car, a couple of huge cars that would have the ICBMs in it, and then the support equipment, and run the trains around the track so they couldn't be tracked. They blamed the rail fans for not going ahead with this because they said the rail fans, and this is pre-internet, would always tip everybody off where the train would be. But if they did it today, all you got to do is tack it onto an Amtrak train, they'll never find it.
Who was the engineer crew in this? Anybody? Same guys?
No, it'd be DOD.
Who?
Department of Defense.
They actually did make a few cars, and they were disguising them as the 85-foot boxcars, the high cubes, and put phony doors on them, painted them different railroad designs, but somehow they forgot to disguise the span booster trucks underneath them.
Ah.
Because they had to spread the weight out, so a regular four-wheel truck just wasn't going to cut it.
When you said about the train, I pictured all of a sudden Smiley Burnett and Ruth Davis, who were the train guys on Petticoat Junction driving it. So I don't know why. But old Western guys, old Western movies, famous killers.
Yeah, they had. I remember going to in the late '70s, going to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and on the tracks in a couple of in one of the yards, they actually had a few. I guess there was about 4 boxcars there. They looked exactly like the Lionel Minuteman car, and what they were actually control cars.
Yep.
That they had built. They just didn't shoot the missiles out of them.
Uh-huh. But there was no sort of way of camouflaging them, maybe?
Well, yeah, it would be a way of camouflage.
Disguise?
Yeah, once they didn't, they could get away from painting them white, paint them black like Penn Central or something.
You mentioned the Petticoat Junction. They had actually Brian was the one that brought this up last time. Ultimate Restorations. I had the opportunity to catch the show on the 1st of March when they rebuilt steam engine number 3.
Sunday night, was that? When you called me?
Yeah.
I got the word up, but you were watching it and you were taping it, or you weren't home. Were you home? You too?
I did catch it, yeah.
The original boiler had all been riveted together, and they weren't allowed to do that during the rebuild because FRA mandates now that it be welded. And just the boiler unit was $600,000. But it's a beautiful engine. God, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Did anybody catch that Rail Journeys program on TTW the other day? It was part of their pledge drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw it not this time, the previous time they showed it.
Yeah, they had something about the Fillmore and Western, and I think that railroad is defunct now. I think the
I think Ventura County is the one, supposedly the owners of the tracks, and they were saying that the Fillmore and Western wasn't paying them enough money.
Yeah.
And except that Fillmore and Western was doing all the track work and everything, and they just wanted to get rid of it.
I wonder what the disposition of the equipment was on that.
No, I haven't heard.
Yeah. I've been trying to find it. There's nothing.
The Fillmore and Western, is that the one that's irreverently referred to as the Hollywood Railroad?
Yes, that's exactly it. The trackage they run on is the Ventura County trackage, and that's the, I think they got it right. So they used one of their old 70-tonners to lead a freight when they crashed into Blue Thunder, the helicopter.
Okay. I remember that movie, Roy Scheider,
Yeah.
with a very, very early look-alike of what eventually would become a Cobra.
An Apache. It's the Apache.
Yeah.
See, when you call Cobra, I'm sorry, I'm from Vietnam. We had our own Cobras, and they were very different.
What would you feed them?
Not for this show to discuss. I'm waiting for the ultimate restoration to show the rebuild on the Fish and Wildlife car.
Yeah, that's
I'm really looking forward to that.
That's a very good one.
yeah.
I'm hoping it's not this weekend coming up, because I have to go to Bloomington for a family wedding, and I don't know if I'll be home in time to see it, and I don't have a working VCR
But yeah, it's
or a DVR. Or what. You know, I'm lucky to have a clay chisel and a hammer and a
Etch-a-sketch.
clay.
I got my Betamax.
There you go. Yeah, when you called,
You were a young man when they came out.
So,
I can remember that back that far.
got a few other news items here.
Go.
Chicago Union Station to get a $12 million renovation. Amtrak has announced that it will spend $12 million this year for renovation work at Chicago Union Station, including a redesign of the facility's often crowded concourse areas. If anybody remembers the history of Union Station, it had a beautiful concourse at one time that was torn down and replaced by Riverside Plaza office complex, and the resulting concourse was a disaster, absolute disaster. So they're going to be, I don't think they're going to be tearing down the high-rise building anytime soon, but I have seen plans for actually eventually replacing that with a real concourse again. Governor's executive order hits Chicago to Rockford rail plan. Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner signed an executive order on Saturday, February 7th, putting major state construction projects on hold, apparently including improved rail service between Chicago and St. Louis. That order prohibits state agencies from entering into and awarding state contracts and grants until July 1st, 2015. Anybody else?
You know, there was a little piece in the Midwest high-speed rail website about some construction that's going to go on down in Miami. They're going to put a rail link in between Miami and Orlando, Florida. So it'll run from the airport in Miami out to Orlando, which will improve the ability for folks to get around out there. So when that is accomplished, you'll be able to zip from the airport out to Orlando, and then it'll be just a short hop by taxi or bus from Orlando proper to Disney and Universal and those attractions out there. And
Okay.
there's already clear land to build on, so.
Before we were talking about these different cars that just they look like box cars, but they're really part of the Department of Defense or whatever. I was just wondering, what is it about railroad cars, be they tankers or box cars, that attract all these taggers? Just because they're there? Is that it? Or?
No, it's a moving canvas.
Yeah, well.
You know, it pays to advertise, and that's the whole idea. You know, you tag it in Chicago, and people out in the West Coast can see it tomorrow.
Well, that's it. So even you want to advertise your ignorance? Is that it? Used to call it malicious mischief.
Your
right?
artistic skills.
Oh yeah, I remember a number of years ago, PBS had a movie on a film, program, what do I call it, all about such artists these guys were, and oh no, this is going to bring a whole new crop of taggers. So I mean, I guess to disguise a missile car, you'd have to put a little graffiti on the outside too, wouldn't it? Otherwise, you'd know right away.
Well, yeah, you'll know which is a real railroad car and which is a folk.
You'd be surprised to know that a lot of the people at tag trains are actually art school students.
I saw a car being dragged down the CSX line out there at 123rd Street, just west of Pulaski, and someone had gotten at it, and what had been a grand trunk car had now become part of the Grand Funk Railroad.
Well, that's where they got their name from.
Grand Funk.
Grand Funk.
Yeah, Grand Trunk Railroad got their name from Grand Trunk Railroad.
Yeah, well, I
Well,
mean,
they were from the area up in Michigan.
Well, you look at some of these cars, and there is
was
some
worth the
elaborate
giggle.
artwork on them. I
Right.
mean, they have to sit in one spot for a long time.
No one ever sees this going on. That's what I say.
Yeah. You know, it's just like we were when you run on the Heritage Corridor and going towards Corwith Yard. There was one repair facility that Amtrak was using, but you look down the wall and it got more elaborate. Like each time I went past, you know, I don't go back for a couple months. You know, if somebody goes on vacation, I take a job there, and all of a sudden you look, and go, boy, they added this, this, and this. And it was almost like Da Vinci. You know,
I was going to say, is that how Da Vinci started?
yeah, that's right. It's a Da Vinci. It was almost like the Last Supper.
Well, you know
Kilroy was here.
what Jesus was saying on that painting, don't you? Come on, everybody, go around. Get everyone on this side of the table for a picture. And on that note, we're going to have to call it a day almost. Goodbye from Ron Smolin. Will you return next, please? Will you come back, please, Ron?
I'll be back.
And say good things about the show, will you, everybody?
I'll say good things about the show. I don't know about you.
Oh, it's okay. I'm used to
Fair
that.
enough.
Kevin Barry,
Thank you, sir.
Dave DeRushka,
Thank you.
Brian Valou,
Thank you.
Doug Kaniuk,
Thank you.
and I'm Jack Ryan, reminding you that happy rails to you, folks.
All aboard! Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Join us again next time when we take to our railroad of imagination on our continuing journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a product of the Windy City Hometown Radio Network and can be heard over this station, as well as the WindyCityHometown.com, where recordings of all our shows may be heard. Once again, all aboard. This is your announcer, Brian Valou. Thank you for listening. Oh yeah, the conductor was portrayed by Charlie Johnson, a struggling young actor that is in really need of work.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Monday, March the 23rd, year 2015. Chicago Junction was produced by Jack Ryan, directed by John DeVita, and radio station manager for WRHS FM Norwich is Mr. Kevin Zeflik, and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network is John Shikanda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, March the 18th, the year 2015. Until next time, please be safe and thanks for listening. And your FM dial is tuned to Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois, a Ridgewood community radio station.